8点，差点就忘记开麦克风了，还要选时间呢。看，对，8分的话算了吧，懒得调了。等一下，在我们开始之前能说2句吗？很感谢你在2次被抓到了，很感谢你在2次启动游戏的时候都设置了时钟。很多人都没有认真对待这个步骤，你真心话，哈哈，哎呀，没你说的那么好啦。老实说，第一次我在怎么讲？我昨天照着游戏下来测试，看他那中文之类的还是有执行有没有问题的时候，我的游戏我的时间设定根本就没有认真对待哈。你对此格外上心，这就是为什么我知道你特别在乎这段体验。确实，我还蛮喜欢这个游戏，虽然已经很久以前的事了，而且这是新版的。哪怕无法确认你设定时间是否正确，下次我启动这游戏看到这画面的时候，只要设定成最喜欢的时间，随便挑都可以，不准确也没差。还有这种事哦，我靠，这桥段有料。OK， 过来一点，我怕挡到字幕。这样 ，OK。
This is the story of a man named Stanley. Stanley worked for a company in a big building where he was employee number 427. Employee number 427's job was simple. He sat at his desk in room 427 and he pushed buttons on
键盘按钮。
Orders came to him through a monitor on his desk, telling him what buttons to push, how long to push them, and in what order. This is what employee 427 did every day of every month of every year. And although others might have considered it soul-rending, Stanley relished every moment that the orders came in, as though he had been made exactly for this job. And Stanley was happy.
Stanley 很幸福。
And then one day, something very peculiar happened. Something that would forever change Stanley. Something he would never quite forget. He had been at his desk for nearly an hour when he realized that not one single order had arrived on the monitor for him to follow. No one had showed up to give him instructions, call a meeting, or even say hi. Never in all his years at the company had this happened. This complete isolation. Something was very clearly wrong. Shocked, frozen solid, Stanley found himself unable to move for the longest time. But as he came to his wits and regained his senses, he got up from his desk and stepped out of his office.
啊，可以动了。我的办公桌。啊，左键 灵敏度好高哦。控制常规反转手柄镜头灵敏度。OK。
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
会议室。
No matter how hard Stanley looked, he couldn't find a trace of his co-workers. Stanley went around touching every little thing in the office, but it didn't make a single difference, nor did it advance the story in any
这我
way.
记得以前有个地方有那么多成就，我在办公室待久一点也不行。哦，这里吗？
At first, Stanley assumed he'd broken the map, until he heard this narration and realized it was part of the game's design all along. He then praised the game for its insightful and witty commentary into the nature of video game structure and its examination of structural narrative tropes. So, now that you're here, what do you think? Isn't this a fun and unique place to be? Why don't we take a minute just to drink it all in? Okay, I'm over it now. What do you think? Are you sick of this gag yet?
厌倦了这种整活吗？否。
Ah, then in that case we'll continue. But now, here comes the real question. What do you think would have happened if you had told me that you wanted this to stop? Do you think it would have been particularly different? Would I have taken the same idea but rephrased it superficially to fit that answer? Perhaps you never would even have thought of it if I hadn't brought up the issue in the first place. Oh, now think about it. Will it be worth it for you to restart and then come back here just to do the other option? Clearly, this whole gag takes some time. What if the other option is even longer? How long will you spend in total just to have heard all the narration? Oh, and this is rich. Perhaps you've just played the other option, and now you've come to see what happens in this one. So, what do you think? Which choice was the better one? Imagine if you had selected continue on your first playthrough, how tantalizing it would be not knowing what happens when you pick the other option. Indeed, you are one of the lucky ones. Though if the other option is really miserable to listen to, then perhaps you're not. In fact, I'm just going to say that no one who's listening to this is lucky. Well now, I've built up the other option so much that I'm going to stop talking and leave you to your decision whether to come back here, continue with the game, or just sit in this spot forever and ever. Cheers.
永远待在这。哈哈。哎，不行了。哎，这样，有没有洞可以钻？哇！真假的？就这样把我卡在这？待一下，看他有没有反应。整活。不会吧？真的哦，这么狠，狠心！你如此狠心，你如此狠心。重新开始。好哦。
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
会议室。帮他关电脑。等待指令输入。输入已接受。
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left.
左边的门，基本上怎么可能乖乖听呢？哎呀，还是先乖乖听，先乖乖听一次。
Yet there was not a single person here
会议
either.
室，
Feeling a wave of disbelief, Stanley decided to go up to his
去老
boss's
板的办
office,
公室。
hoping he might find an answer there.
目标，喂，使用幻灯片来安抚员工，确保幻灯片标题处有圆润的蓝色。谁在动啊？每个人都是独特的。幻灯片，谁在切换？职能中心，管他的嘞。哦，杂物间。
Stanley stepped into the broom closet, but there was nothing here, so he turned around and got back on track.
杂物间好像有东西，算了，先走好了。
Coming to a staircase, Stanley walked upstairs to his boss's office.
boss 的办公室。哦，执行官卫生间。赚钱无罪没乐趣，犯罪没钱日子难。谁说只能2选1？偷个钱包2合1。就这样。什么东西？米黄叶电话簿吗？哦。电梯。哇，可以坐电梯哦。真假的啊？我不管他，直接坐电梯。算了，我们这次先听他的。
Stepping into his manager's office, Stanley was once again stunned to discover not an indication of any
没有
human
人的
life.
迹象。
Shocked, unraveled, Stanley wondered in disbelief who orchestrated this. What dark secret was being held from him? What he could not have known was that the keypad behind the boss's desk guarded the terrible truth that his boss had been keeping from him. And so the boss had assigned it an extra secret PIN number, 2845. But of course, Stanley couldn't possibly have known this. Stanley just sat around twiddling his thumbs. Trying to input anything on the device was useless, since he could never possibly know that the combination was 2845. $2845. Forgot, but it turns out that the panel's emergency override kicked in, and the door just opened all by itself. And Stanley got the hell along with the story. Well, whoop-de-doo.
哎呦，果然是他很好玩的，我不输入，他就帮我开门了。哎呀，哈哈，真新奇，真新奇呢，有趣有趣。这摔死吧！喂、欸，我靠！王伯君，晚上好啊，晚上安。笑死欸，刚才很好笑。哎、欸，靠，只能走这边欸，没路了耶。这游戏真的好，还蛮真的很有趣欸。 刚刚输入密码，然后
Descending deeper into the
我一直输入
building,
错误，
Stanley realized he felt a bit
开始帮我
peculiar.
开门了，
It was a
他
stirring
受
of
不了了。
emotion in his chest, as though he felt more free to think for himself, to question the nature of his job. Why did he feel this now, when for years it had never occurred to him? This question would not go unanswered for long.
哪里啊？
Stanley walked straight ahead through the large door that read Mind Control Facility.
逃生通道哎，走到一半就不走哦，走那边看看。
Although this passageway had the word escape written on it, the truth was that at the end of this hall, Stanley would meet his violent death.
这镜头是死亡。
The door behind him was not shut. Stanley still had every opportunity to turn around and get back on track.
管他。
At this point, Stanley was making a conscious, concerted effort to walk forward and willingly confront his death.
死亡。什么东西？我靠！摔死了！啊？不对啊！我还没死哎，在哪里？
As the machine whirred into motion and Stanley was inched closer and closer to his demise, he reflected that his life had been of no consequence whatsoever. Stanley can't see the bigger picture. He doesn't know the real story, trapped forever in his narrow vision of what this world is. Perhaps his death was of no great loss, like plucking the eyeballs from a blind man. And so he resigned and willingly accepted this violent end to his brief and shallow life. Farewell, Stanley.
Farewell, Stanley, cried the narrator, as Stanley was led helplessly into the enormous metal jaws. In a single visceral instant, Stanley was obliterated as the machine crushed every bone in his body, killing him instantly.
Eh? 史丹利的寓
And yet it would be just a few minutes before Stanley would restart the game, back in his office, as alive as ever. What exactly did the narrator think he was going to accomplish?
哦，好亮。
When every path you can walk has been created for you long in advance, death becomes meaningless, making life the same. Do you see now? Do you see that Stanley was already dead from the moment he hit start?
很哲学，他意思就是说，一成不变的生活跟手没两样。当你开始改变的时候，你就不是原本的那个你了，就已经不是史丹利了，自然化。这什么鬼地？哦，这是办公室布局。刚刚的地图哎，还能输入吗？走廊。 2扇门，档案柜，扑克牌，员工信息库，按钮，按键音效。这门是就这样，名单，莫名其妙，哇，好大哦！ 431、436，有什么特别的吗？哦，真的好大哦！这是在观赏后台的吧？战区，莫名其妙的走来这里了。什么东西？亲爱的旁白，你怎么保持体型？旁白有机，感觉该离开了吧？ 我都没来过。可以走了。
Oh, look at these two. How they wish to destroy one another. How they wish to control one another. How they both wish to be free.
书桌，黑黑的。这应该就出去了吧？不能按。开关重来了吗？重来了。
Can you see? Can you see how much they need one another? No, perhaps not. Sometimes these things cannot be seen.
又回来了。
But listen to me. You can still save these two. You can stop the program before they both fail. Push escape and press quit. There's no other way to beat this game. As long as you move forward, you'll be walking someone else's path. Stop now and it'll be your only true choice. Whatever you do...
这是假的啦，直接重开，这样。好，他都这么急了，那我就重开吧。我看看。
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean?
这把我们就
Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had
我就不
simply
听
missed
他
the
的了，
memo.
从一开始就不听。两扇门吧。
When Stanley came to a set of two
走进了
open
左边的
doors,
门，
he entered the
我就
door
不
on his
听。
left. This was not the correct way to the meeting room, and Stanley knew it perfectly
我想去
well.
买个吃的。
Perhaps he wanted to stop by the employee lounge first, just to admire it.
员工休息室。这里啊。
Ah, yes, truly
Yes,
a room
买
worth
喝的。
admiring. It had really been worth the detour after all, just to spend a few moments here in this immaculate, beautifully constructed room. Stanley simply stood here, drinking it all in.
快给我指令，让我买喝的。没有吗？难过。
Yes, really, really worth it being here in the room.
Yeah.
A room so utterly captivating
Yes.
that even though all your co-workers have mysteriously vanished, here you sit looking at these chairs and some paintings.
画作。
Really worth it.
Yeah. 还在催我
At
一
this
下吗？
point, Stanley's obsession with this room bordered
痴
on
迷
creepy
近乎疯
and
狂，
reflected poorly on his overall
悲催的
personality.
个性。
It's possible that this is why everyone left.
这里很棒啊！还要念两句吗？还能念两句吗？
Stanley sat around waiting for more dialogue.
哎，被
But
猜
when a
到了。
long time had passed and there was no
我要等
more,
他讲话。
he decided that the game was trying to send him a message.
好啦，算了，走吧，走吧。
But at last, he'd had enough of the amazing room
看够
and
了。
took the first open door on his left
左边
to
第一
get
间。
back to business.
我才不要呢。
Stanley was so bad at following directions, it's incredible he wasn't fired years ago.
禁止说谎，如果你正在说谎，请立即停下。说谎？没说谎啊，我那么真诚。往下跳有生命危险，罚款。
Look, Stanley, I think perhaps we've gotten off on the wrong foot here. I'm not your enemy, really, I'm not. I realize that investing your trust in someone else can be difficult, but the fact is that the story has been about nothing but you all this time. There's someone you've been neglecting, Stanley.
Yeah.
Really? I was in the middle of something. Do you have zero consideration for others? Are you that convinced that I want something bad to happen to you? Why, I don't know how to convince you of this, but I really do want to help you, to show you something beautiful.
太舒压了。
Let me prove that I'm on your side. Give me a chance.
Give me a chance. 这是哪里？我是谁？ 请勿靠近围栏。铁桶误入，铁桶误入，哪来的铁桶啊？哪来的铁桶啊？铁桶误入，它这个标示牌让我觉得。水龙果来啦！晚上好啊，晚上哎，关门。晚上安。
Now listen carefully. This is important.
OK， 我在听着。
Stanley walked through the red door.
Stanley 进入了蓝色的门。好的。OK。
Aha. Perhaps you misunderstood. Stanley walked through the red door.
OK，Stanley 进入了蓝色的门。好。
I still don't think we're communicating properly. Stanley walked through the red door.
进入了蓝色的门。
All right, fine. Go ahead, Stanley. Yeah. You want to know so badly what's out there? You want to find out what lies at the end of this road you've chosen? Well, don't let me stop you.
想要知道一直拒绝你会有什么下场
You see? There's nothing here. I haven't even finished building this section of the map because you were never supposed to be here in the first place. Broken rooms, exposed developer textures. Is this what you had wanted? Was it worth ruining the entire story I had written out specifically for you? Do not think I put a lot of time into that, because I did. And in the end, it was all for nothing, because this is what you wanted to see. Help me here, Stanley. Help elucidate these strange and unknowable desires of yours. What would have made this game better? What did you want to see? Vehicles? Skill trees? Work with me. You've given me absolutely nothing so far. Tell you what, let me take a stab in the dark at a new design, and you can give me some feedback. There we go. A third option. This already feels leaps ahead of where we were before. Go ahead, Stanley. Take it for a spin.
天花板灯，3个选项，这看起来太怪了吧？这是正常的路，进这个吗？ Oh yeah.
Okay, I'm going to stop you there. Now, tell me about your experience with this new version. Would you say that the game benefited from allowing you more choices? Feel free to be honest. I'm looking for some real critical feedback here.
反馈区域1、2、3、4、5。我才刚玩，你叫我反馈，怎么反馈啊？我给你5分好不好？
Aha! You see, I knew I was onto something. Where do these flashes of inspiration come from? How did I know the game needed a third door? Well, it's instinct mostly, a calling in your gut. I really couldn't say where the idea came from, except that I felt it in my soul. You can't teach that, Stanley. Don't even try. Here, based on the data from your previous playthrough, I've compiled a new version. And to be perfectly candid, I think I've knocked it out of the park with this one. Let's take a look.
这么好，哇哦！什么？全球排行榜？20%的玩家跳过动画，只有不到3%的玩家选蓝门。98.9% 的玩家比史丹利还性感。和别人竞争来让你的史丹利预言职业生涯取得进步。这是什么？职业培训？好哦，那我们再走回去吗？可是，哦。
Now, would you say that competitive leaderboard helped you feel motivated to keep walking through doors? Again, honest answers, please.
1分。
Hey, I nearly forgot. I've got a prototype of a new game I've been working on, and now would be a lovely opportunity to give it some playtesting. You wouldn't mind taking a look at it, would you? Perfect. Let me boot it up. In this game, the baby crawls left towards danger. You click the button to move him back to the right, and if he reaches the fire, you fail. It's a very meaningful game, all about the desperation and tedium of endlessly confronting the demands of family life. I think the art world will really take notice. But of course, the message of the game only becomes clear once you've been playing it for about 4 hours. So why don't you give it 4 hours of play to make sure it's effective? Be sure to keep notes on your experience. Bastard. Did you do it because you hate babies or purely to spite me?
两个都有。
If it's the latter, well, I don't know what to do. I'm completely out of ideas. I can't think of a single thing that might improve the experience for me. I'm not even going to try. I'm out. I'm done. It's over. Thank you for playing. Your input was extremely valuable. Oh, hey, since my game was so awful, why don't we play someone else's game, just to ease the pain?
我现在来救你来得及吗？
Yes, this seems like it'll work. Let's give it a shot.
血流成河，直接扫烂。
Ah, fascinating. What do you think this game is about, Stanley?
画风都不一样了呢，太牛逼了。
Well, it seems obvious to me that you are meant to play as a creepy man spying on innocent civilians below you from up high in your creep tower, perhaps for some sort of twisted erotic purpose.
偷窥民众。
Yes, that must be it. What a fascinating venture into the experience of total mental depravity. So far, I love everything about this game, Stanley, and it seems there's even more. Come, let's venture outward and see what else is out there.
好赞哦！不想走了，我就在这边当个护林者就好了。哦，地图，看来是得出去了。志愿者天堂，炸厨房，这哪是炸厨房啦？这里明明就是森林，这瞭望塔呀。这只让我想到恐怖游戏。独自一个人，然后再独自一个人在上面，然后遇到怪事。哎，那里有那个瓦斯桶。好啦，这也是啦，不可能让人点啊，那个爆炸还得了，爆炸就不得了了，爆炸就没了。我们来玩高空弹跳。可以啊，不过我们这边没有提供绳子哦，直接从那边跳下去就好了，直接跳就可以了。
Oh no, it can't be.
怎么了？有牌子。
It is. It's an open world game. Good God, quickly block it off.
哎。
Oh, thank goodness, Stanley. What a close call.
琼斯湖
You nearly wandered off into that thing, that big open, just wandering around, no right or wrong directions, no path to follow. You can just go in any. Oh, thank heavens we avoided it.
不给他自由世
Out of
界。
the woods now, Stanley. Okay, I'm going to get us out of
没
here.
了，
Let's
不让我
find
玩
another game.
过分。
Preferably something with walls. Something with nice, big, insurmountable walls.
他把我传送走了吧？
Okay, I think this will be just the thing.
说好的自由世界呢？开放世界呢？这什么？运动游戏？
Wonderful. See, this is exactly what I had in mind. Just a nice big box for you to run around
漂亮的
in.
大
There
盒子
isn't
里
any
面。
possibility that you could get lost here. Now this is game design. Stanley, if you manage to get lost in this game, I will be phenomenally impressed.
在这个游戏里面迷路，我就是要走看有没有别的路。这也太大了吧
Okay, so what exactly do we do here? Let's see. There are lots of cars here in the back, but obviously there's no racetrack. Okay, I'm seeing that there's a ball of some kind back here. Is this game sports ball? Stanley, I think it's sports ball. Oh, what fun. We shall run the bases and do a touchdown together. Yes, I think surely we must. Okay, Stanley, here's the ball. Have fun.
太大了吧？这球怎样？我加速了。头撞。
Are you doing it? Are you winning? Is this fun? Is it better than my miserable little story that I worked so hard on? Stanley, I have a thought, and I realize I'm not a sportsologist, but if one ball generates a certain amount of raw adrenal pleasure, then surely multiple balls makes for an even more euphoric sports experience. I'm going to try it out. Here comes another ball.
我的天
Yes! Oh goodness, that really does feel amazing, doesn't it? Stanley, I'm like a child in a confectionery shop. I simply have to have more. I'm insatiable. More balls!
哎，进球没？球没有不进。这么多球，随便踹。
Are you enjoying this, Stanley? Are you having fun?
真正的电子。
Is this a real video game? Well, I sure hope you're having a good time, because guess what? It's over. That's right. Your little fun comes to an end. This is my game, and what I say goes. You get to have... Hold on. What are you doing?
Whoa. Oh,
Stanley, don't do that. I can't follow you there. I can't help you. How will you write a story without me? You can't do it. You know that. Stanley, come back.
哎，他跟不到我了哦。档案是8664，这是哇，这个完全看不出来路在哪，好黑哦。这里吗？我看。哎，哇，假的啦！哇，惊奇惊奇耶！我们越来越深了，去哪了啊？地方也太像后世了吧？423，哦，让我进去啊！嘿嘿，哎，没有，这里是。哦，死路哎！不该的吧？问点。哎，啊
I wonder what he found. If what he wanted was to be the leading man in his own story, well, perhaps he's gotten it. Down in wherever he is right now. I wonder if he's happy with his choice, and if he's learned the heavy cost that comes with it.
代价什么代价？
He'll understand soon what I was trying to tell him. He needs me. Someone who will wrap everything up at the end, to make sense out of the chaos and the fear and the confusion. That's who I am. That is what I mean to this world. Oh, yes. Yes, I'll be back. There's no other way. Once this ends, after it all comes to a close, then I'll be back. The end will be here soon. Very soon.
结束
I can wait.
要我重开了吗？哦，没有。我又回来喽，老铁。我又来喽。
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
这次怎么搞呢？
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left.
我们要不要一样走右边，然后搭去对面？
This was not the correct way to the meeting room, and Stanley knew it perfectly well. Perhaps he wanted to stop by the employee lounge first, just to admire it. Wow, yes, this room. But eager to get back to business, Stanley took the first open door on his left.
左边第一扇打开了门 ，No。
Stanley was so bad at following directions, it's incredible he wasn't fired years ago. Look, Stanley, I think perhaps we've gotten off on the wrong foot here. I'm not your enemy, really, I'm not. I realize that investing your trust in someone else can be difficult, but the fact is that the story has been about nothing but you all this time. There's someone you've been neglecting, Stanley. Someone you've forgotten about. Please, stop trying to make every decision by yourself. Now, I'm not asking for me, I'm asking for her. This is it, Stanley. Your chance to redeem yourself, to put your work aside, to let her back into your life. She's been waiting.
谁啊？我老婆。我啥？怎么那么黑？不。
That's her, Stanley. You need to be the one to do this, to reach out to her. If you can truly place your faith in another, then pick up the phone.
Oh, Stanley, is that you? Hold on, sweetie.
It's
Sorry
you.
to keep you waiting.
It's me.
I'm just pulling the bread out of the oven. All right. Okay, there we go. All right, now, I want you to come in and tell me all about your day.
Gotcha. Oh, come on. Did you actually think you had a loving wife who'd want to commit their life to you? I'm trying to make a point here, Stanley. I'm trying to get you to see something. Come inside. Let me show you what's really going on here.
是想跟你相约总是，心好痛。假人。
This is a very sad story about the death of a man named Stanley.
键盘上按下 R 键，骂好像没办法。
Stanley is quite a boring fellow. He has a job that demands nothing of him, and every button that he pushes is a reminder of the inconsequential nature of his existence.
存在不重要，要对我下令了。H 键。
Look at him there, pushing buttons, doing exactly what he's told to do. Now he's pushing a button. Now he's eating lunch. Now he's going home. Now he's coming back to work. One might even feel sorry for him, except that he's chosen this life.
只能按了啊，他家有够小的。
But in his mind, in his mind, he can go on fantastic adventures. From behind his desk, Stanley dreamed of wild expeditions into the unknown, fantastic discoveries of new lands. It was wonderful, and each day that he returned to work was a reminder that none of it would ever happen to him.
按 G 键看电视，哪里有电视？
And so he began to fantasize about his own job. First, he imagined that one day while at work, he stepped up from his desk to realize that all of his co-workers, his boss, everyone in the building had suddenly vanished off the face of the earth. The thought excited him terribly.
孩子们根本没有啊，幻想中。
So he went further. He imagined that he came to two open doors and that he could go through either. At last, choice. It barely even mattered what lay behind each door. The mere thought that his decisions would mean something was almost too wonderful to behold.
就高兴的拿一次吧。
As he wandered through this fantasy world, he began to fill it with many possible paths and destinations. Down one path lay an enormous round room with monitors and mind controls. And down another was a yellow line that weaved in many directions. And down another was a game with a baby. And he called it the Stanley Parable.
按 J 键给你的孩子们讲个故事吧。
It was such a wonderful fantasy, and so in his head he relived it again, and then again, and again, over and over, wishing beyond hope that it would never end, that he might always feel this free. Surely there's an answer down some new path, mustn't there be? Perhaps if he played just one more time.
再玩一次。按Y键和你的妻子说你爱她，对这个吗？我爱你这样。
But there is no answer.
没了。
How could there possibly be?
没有妻子。
In reality, all he's doing is pushing the same buttons he always has. Nothing has changed. The longer he spends here, the more invested he gets, the more he forgets which life is the real one.
我越来越懵逼了，这游戏。我跟你讲，这游戏脑洞可以开很大，它的路线很多。
And I'm trying to tell him this, that in this world he can never be anything but an observer, that as long as he remains here, he's slowly killing himself. But he won't listen to me. He won't stop.
他在跟 Stanley 说话吧。
Watch this. Stanley, the next time the screen asks you to push a button, do not
按下按钮
do
时
it.
不要照做。好，我不做，好不好？我听你的，好不好？旁白，我听你的，好不好？旁白，我没事做，能钻出去吗？我不按。是说那个旁白知道一个定律吗？通常话多的人都死很快。可这个游戏里面就只有旁白在讲话，就也没有别的。主角就是旁白啦，史丹利就是一个附属的啦。我不按它不开始啊，要怎样才不按？只能按了吧？难不成还要等2分钟、3分钟什么的？有那么过分吗？按了。
You see? Can he just not hear me? How can I tell him in a way that he'll understand that every second he remains here, he's electing to kill himself? How can I get him to see what I see? How can I make him look at himself?
请按G键，什么也别问。不按要不要让我离开？真是啰里吧嗦的耶。
I suppose I can't, not in the way I want him to. But I don't make the rules. I simply play to my intended purpose, the same as Stanley. We're not so different, I suppose. I'll try once more to convey all this to him. I'm compelled to. I must. Perhaps, well, maybe this time he'll see. Maybe this time. And I tried again, and Stanley pushed a button.
请去死
And I tried again, and Stanley pushed a button. And I tried.
嗝屁了哦！好哦，等等哦，我想到一个好玩的了。
Even now, Stanley's office was a distant memory. What did it look like? There was a computer, perhaps, and a painting. Was it a painting or a photo? He could no longer recall.
好。
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, this was not the correct way to the meeting room, and Stanley knew it perfectly well. Perhaps he wanted to stop by the employee lounge first, just to admire it. The lounge was sublime, a work of art. But eager to get back to business, Stanley took the first open door on his left. Stanley was so bad at following directions, it's incredible he wasn't fired years ago. Look, Stanley, I think perhaps we've gotten off on the road. But in his eagerness to prove that he is in control of the story and no one gets to tell him what to do, Stanley leapt from the platform and plunged to his death. Good job, Stanley. Everyone thinks you are very powerful.
不一样哎，是哪里？
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
傻小，白板结局，狗狗模式，怎么可以狗啊？可以狗啊？这样？不要！哦，别。好。
Stanley went around touching every little thing in the office, but it
狗狗
didn't make a single difference, nor did it advance the story in any way.
什么也没发生，什么也没……哦，回来了。
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he and this was not the correct way to the meeting room, and
冲啊！
Stanley
狗
knew
狗
it
应该冲快一
perfectly
点
well.
啊！
Perhaps he wanted to stop by the employee lounge first, just to admire it.
狗狗模式。
Standing now in this incredible room, but eager to get back to business, Stanley took the first open door on his left.
Wow! Wow!
Stanley was so bad at following directions, it's incredible he wasn't 5 years ago.
不能按。对面好了。
Look, Stanley, I think perhaps we've gotten off on the wrong foot here. I'm not your enemy, really, I'm not. I realize that investing your trust in someone else can be difficult, but the fact is that the story has been about nothing but you all this time.
好想去哦。
There's someone you've been neglecting,
怎么
Stanley.
去呀？
Someone you've forgotten about. Please, stop trying to make every decision by yourself. Now, I'm not asking for me, I'm asking for her. This is it, Stanley. Your chance to redeem yourself. To put your work aside. To let her back into your life. She's been waiting. That's her, Stanley. You need to be the one to do this. To reach out to her. Oh, no, you can't. Did you just unplug the phone? No, that wasn't supposed to be a choice. How did you do that? You actually chose incorrectly? I didn't even know that was possible. Let me double check.
熊孩子。熊孩子啦。
No, it's definitely here, clear as day. Stanley picks up the phone. He's taken to his apartment where he finds his wife, and the two pledge themselves to one another. Music comes in, fade to white, roll credits. Not picking up the phone is actually somehow an incorrect course of action. How is that even possible? None of these decisions were supposed to mean anything. I don't understand. How on earth are you making meaningful choices? What did you... Wait a second. Did I just see... No, that's not possible. I can't believe it. How had I not noticed it sooner? You're not Stanley. You're a real person.
Oh.
I can't believe I was so mistaken. This is
Stanley.
why you've been able to make correct and incorrect choices. And to think I've been letting you run around in this game for so long. If you'd made any more wrong choices, you might have negated it entirely. It's as though you completely ignored even the most basic safety protocol for real-world decision-making. Or did you not grasp the severity of the situation? Well, I won't have that kind of risk on my watch. I'm going to stop the game for a moment so we can educate you properly on safe decision-making in the real world. Please observe this helpful instructional video.
Choice. It's the best part of being a real person. But if used incorrectly, can also be the most dangerous. For example, in this scenario, a hypothetical real person named Rupert has a choice. He could invent a machine that eliminates food shortages across the world to make life better for all people. Or he could spend years of hard work forgetting how to read. Which choice would you make? Remember that unlike here, the real world makes sense, and at no time should you make a choice that does not conform to rational logic. If you find yourself speaking with a person who does not make sense, in all likelihood, that person is not real. Allow the person to finish their thought, then provide an excuse why you cannot continue talking. Turn to a partner and practice saying, "My goodness, is it 4:30? I'm supposed to be having a back, sack, and crack."
Oh. 好。
Excellent. Making choices on a regular basis is the best part to a healthy decision-making process. Most medical professionals recommend making at least 8 choices per day. Do you make more than 8? Less? And finally, if you begin to wonder if your choices are actually meaningful and whether you'll ever make a significant contribution to the world, just remember that in the vast infiniteness of space, your thoughts and problems are materially insignificant, and the feeling should subside. At this time, your instructor will guide you in an exercise to test and reinforce the material covered in this video.
Ah, welcome back. You may have noticed that this room has begun to deteriorate as a result of narrative contradiction. But not to worry. Now that you're properly informed on good decision making, we're going to revisit a choice you made just a few minutes ago and see what the correct thing to do would have been. This way, please.
OK 是什么？搞毛，无处不在。啊！我还是狗吼，对吼，我还是狗，我还是那只狗狗。回头，假的。哎，要不要？哎，坐电梯回去哦。
Now that we know your choices are meaningful, we can't have you jumping off the platform and dying. Imagine the main character dying senselessly halfway through the story. That story would make no sense at all. We just need to get you home as soon as possible before the narrative contradiction gets any worse. Unfortunately, it seems this place is not well equipped to deal with reality.
直接被遣返了，我的天，那不是白来了？哎，阿路呢？不是刚刚他不会叫我再走回去哦，叫我回休息室。
Almost there. You'll take the door on the left, back to the correct ending. The story will have resolution once again, and you'll be home free in the real world.
248，晚上好吗？晚上安。左边的门，这里吗？
Now remember, all you need to do is behave exactly as Stanley would. That means choosing responsibly and always putting the story first. I'm quite sure you'll be up to the task. Just follow my lead and you'll be fine. All right. When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left.
开门。好啦，我们去左边好了。
Yet there was not a single person here either. Feeling a wave of disbelief, Stanley decided to go up to his boss's office, hoping he might find an answer there.
关起来了。
Coming to a staircase, Stanley walked upstairs to his boss's office.
哇，都锁起来了！哎，他把其他的选项全部锁起来了，好狠哦！
Stepping inside his manager's office, Stanley was once again stunned to discover not an indication of any human life. Shocked, unraveled, Stanley wondered in disbelief who orchestrated this, until he saw the door with a voice receiver next to it. Surely behind this door lay all the answers to his questions. And beyond all probability, he knew the passcode. He had seen it on his boss's computer just last week. Nightshark 115. Was this the code to open the door? Would it still work? There was only one way to find out. Stanley had been trained never to speak up, but now he would draw from within himself the courage to face the unknown. He drew a sharp breath and then spoke the code.
哎，我是狗，这不能。
Stanley spoke the code. Nightshark 115. He spoke it into the receiver, right there on the wall.
怎么讲？讲不了啊。
I'm sorry, is there a problem? You didn't mishear me, did you?
我是狗啊。
Please speak the code into the receiver. Otherwise, we can't get on with the story. This is a crucial step.
狗狗怎么说？夜杀115啊。
Okay, fine. You're not going to do it, but you know what? It's pretty humiliating to bring you this far, only for you to suddenly decide you have better things to do. I asked you for this one single thing, for your respect. The kind of respect Stanley shows for his choices. He knows what it means to.
我可以开麦克风是吧？人家早点讲。我看一下哦。语言中文。算了。
Take a story seriously. If you didn't want to see what I had to show you, then why did you come here? You had a choice, you know. You could have gone through the door on the right. You could have done whatever the hell you wanted over there. Why did you come this way? Speak. Say something to me. Explain yourself, you coward. You behave exactly as Stanley would. That means choosing responsibly and always putting the story first. I'm quite sure you'll be up to the task. Just follow my lead and you'll be fine. All right. When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left.
既然他刚刚都这么说了，那我们再去右边吧。
No! Why did you do that? Quickly, hurry back in the other direction. Perhaps we're not too late.
啊，不是你刚刚这样讲了吗？乱码了，乱码了。保持干燥。要回去，没有办法继续嘞。诶，这不关门了？
Oh, it's ruined. I can't believe, after everything we talked about, that my story, you've destroyed my work. Why? For what? What did you get out of that? What did you think was so special about seeing the game undone, left here like so much garbage? It's worthless now. And what am I supposed to do? Even if there were a way to continue, would it be worth it? To know that my story is now incorrect? How can I go back to that? I can't erase that knowledge. I'll have to live with it forever. Reliving its impossibility forever. I couldn't live that way. Is it better to shut the game down entirely? To willingly destroy all of my work? I don't know. What's the answer? What do I do? What do I do? What do I... No, I have to. I have to shut the game down. I have to. I have to.
Hey.
With you who thought you were so clever. Now look where we are. My entire game is destroyed. It was the only thing in the world that was mine, and you've run it into the ground. What, did you think that would be funny? You just had to see? Didn't I impress upon you how important it was to be like Stanley? He actually knows how to do what I tell him to. He understands that if I say to do something, there's a damn good reason for it. That thought hadn't even occurred to you, had it? That there's a world outside of you? You're a child. Oh, my story. If you'd just gone through the door on the left, you would have seen it. There was a whole underground facility. You would have destroyed it and been victorious. It would have been so perfect. I worked so hard on it. I tried so hard to make...
骗我。
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left. Stanley? Hello? Is everything okay? Stanley, please. I need you to make a choice. I need you to walk through the door. Are you listening to me? Can you hear me? Is everything all right? Stanley, this is important. The story needs you. It needs you to make a decision. It cannot exist without you. Do you understand me? Whatever choice you make is just fine. They're both correct. You cannot be wrong here. We can work together. I'll accept whatever you do. I simply need you to take that step forward, please.
Stanley 长得
Choose. Do something. Anything. This is more important than you can ever know. I need this. The story
我已经被隔离开了。
So, You hear me? Are you there? Are you listening to this? Stanley, are you there?
我已经离开史丹利的身体。
It's okay, I can wait. You need time to decide. Time to make sure your choice is correct. That is the best choice. That's all right. I'll wait for you to decide what's the right thing to do. Take as much time as you need.
X I。怎么怎么不一样的地方了？怎么好像越来越怪啦？哪里啊？两扇门的位置。
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left.
那我们就直接坐左边好了。
Yet there was not a single person here either. Feeling a wave of disbelief, Stanley decided to go out. Oh no, no, not again. I won't be part of this. I'm not going to encourage you. I'm not going to say anything at all. I'm just going to be patient and wait for you to finish whatever it is you enjoy doing so much in this room. Please take your time.
这里有什么破？什么都不能捡。带一下看看，看他在说什么。没东西吗？不可以这样吧？工具间，之后再来好了。可以往下。
Coming to a staircase, Stanley walked upstairs to his boss's office.
好啦，我们走的是正常的。我们看一下正常的史丹利到底在干嘛。
Stepping into his manager's office, Stanley was once again stunned to discover not an indication of any human life. Stanley was in such a rush to get through the story as quickly as possible, he didn't even have a single minute to just let the narrator talk. That kind of anxiety isn't healthy, so he relaxed for a few moments with some calming New Age music.
快到连旁白在那边讲密码，我已经打完了。他会吐槽我，好棒哦！
Feeling soothed and rejuvenated, Stanley calmly walked forward into the opened passageway.
快还要更快。好。不给机会。
Stanley walked straight ahead through the large door that read Mind Control Facility.
这是
The lights rose on an enormous room packed with television screens. What horrible secret did this place hold? Stanley thought to himself. Did he have the strength to find out?
真相。当当当当当当。就是按监视器。
Now the monitors jumped to life, their true nature revealed. Each bore the number of an employee in the building, Stanley's co-workers. The lives of so many individuals reduced to images on a screen. And Stanley, one of them, eternally monitored in this place where freedom meant nothing. This mind control facility, it was too horrible to believe. It couldn't be true. Had Stanley really been under someone's control all this time? Was this the only reason he was happy with his boring job? That his emotions had been manipulated to accept it blindly? No, he refused to believe it. He couldn't accept it. His own life in someone else's control?
No.
Never. It was unthinkable, wasn't it? Was it even possible? Had he truly spent his entire life utterly blind to the world? But here was the proof. The heart of the operation. Controls labeled with emotions. Happy or sad or content. Walking, eating, working. All of it monitored and commanded from this very place. And as the cold reality of his past began to sink in, Stanley decided that this machinery would never again exert its terrible power over another human life. For he would dismantle the controls once and for all.
上面有路，能上吗？哎，可以。哎呀，关起来了。离线，这是应该关电源就可以了吧？这是什么？5，精神控制闲置中。
And when at last he found the source of the room's power, he knew it was his duty, his obligation, to put an end to this horrible place and to everything. Oh, Stanley, you didn't just activate the controls, did you? After they kept you enslaved all these years, you go and you try to take control of the machine for yourself. Is that what you wanted? Control? Oh, Stanley, I applaud your effort, I really do. But you need to understand, there's only so much that machine can do. You were supposed to let it go, turn the controls off, and leave. If you want to throw my story off track, you're going to have to do much better than that. I'm afraid you don't have nearly the power you think you do. For example, and I believe you'll find this pertinent, Stanley suddenly realized he had just initiated the network's emergency detonation system. In the event that this machine is activated without proper DNA identification, nuclear detonators are set to explode, eliminating the entire complex. How long until detonation then? Let's say, 2 minutes. Ah, now this is making things a little more fun, isn't it, Stanley? It's your time to shine. You are the star. It's your story now. Shape it to your heart's desires. Oh, this is much better than what I had in mind. What a shame we have so little time left to enjoy it. Mere moments until the bomb goes off. But what precious moments each one of them is. More time to talk about you, about me, where we're going, what all this means. I barely know where to start. What's that? You'd like to know where your co-workers are. A moment of solace before you're obliterated. All right, I'm in a good mood. You're gonna die anyway. I'll tell you exactly what happened to them. I erased them. I turned off the machine. I set you free. Of course, that was merely in this instance of the story. Sometimes when I tell it, I simply let you sit there in your office forever, pushing buttons endlessly and then dying alone. Other times, I let the office sink into the ground, swallowing everyone inside, or I let it burn to a crisp. I have to say this, though, this version of events has been rather amusing. Watching you try to make sense of everything and take back the control wrested away from you, it's quite rich. I almost hate to see it go. But I'm sure whatever I come up with on the next go-around will be even better. My goodness, only 34 seconds left. But I'm enjoying this so much. You know what? To hell with it. I'm going to put some extra time on the clock. Why not? These are precious additional seconds, Stanley. Time doesn't grow on trees. Oh dear me, what's the matter, Stanley? Is it that you have no idea where you're going or what you're supposed to be doing right now? Or did you just assume when you saw that timer that something in this room was capable of turning it off? I mean, look at you. Running from button to button, screen to screen, clicking on every little thing in this room. These numbered buttons, no, these colored ones. Or maybe this big red button, or this door. Everything, anything, something here will save me. Why would you think that, Stanley? That this video game can be beaten? Won? Solved? Do you have any idea what your purpose in this place is? Stanley, you're in for quite a disappointment. But here's a spoiler for you. That timer isn't a catalyst to keep the action moving along. It's just seconds ticking away to your death. You're only still playing instead of watching a cutscene because I want to watch you for every moment that you're powerless. To see you made humble. This is not a challenge. It's a tragedy. You wanted to control this world, that's fine. But I'm going to destroy it first, so you can't. Take a look at the clock, Stanley. That's 30 seconds you have left to struggle. 30 seconds until a big boom and then no ending here. Just you being blown to pieces. Will you cling desperately to your frail life, or will you let it go peacefully? Another choice. Make it count. Or don't. It's all the same to me. All a part of the joke. And believe me, I will be laughing at every second of your inevitable life from the moment we fade in until the moment I say, happily ever up.
That. Okay.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had sent a memo.
只为了放我出。Huh? What the fuck?
Oh, new content? What does that mean? New content.
New content. 哇啊！我刚不该动门的。这是哪里呀
Hello, and thank you for playing the Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe. As you may know, the Stanley Parable was a video game released in 2013 on home computers. After receiving critical and commercial success, it was expanded upon in 2022 with the Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe, a reimagining of the game for consoles and home computers.
Yeah.
The Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe features exciting new content that broadens and expands the world of the Stanley Parable, delighting audiences the world over.
更多游戏内容
Please step inside and see what thrilling new adventures await in the Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe.
Oh, well, this sounds delightful. I'm very excited to see the thrilling new Ultra Deluxe content.
确实很爽
Okay, so far it's an elevator. Nothing special yet, but I'm sure it's just the beginning of a mesmerizing adventure. Is it broken? What's going on here? Should we be moving somewhere or... Oh, there we go. All right, finally, at long last, it's on to the new content. I've never been more ready. Let's do it. have to say, initial impressions of Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe, mostly tedious. It's as if Oh, okay. Let's see the content. Give me the content, Stanley.
Stanley. Oh. 啊？跳跳圈。
All right. Let's see. It's the jump circle.
啥小？好吧，跳呢？不跳直接走。
Is that it? Surely that's not all the new content. There has to be something else, right? Goodness, another elevator. Stanley, I have to say, initial impressions of this game are not positive. It's just elevators and jumping.
电梯和跳跳
Is
圈。
this what passes for exciting new content? If this is new content, then I could just read through the whole dictionary. There's 20 hours of new content right there. Hell, I could counter 30 trillion. You could put that on the box. The Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe, now with over 1,000 hours of new content. And if... Oh, wait. There's more. Very good.
Yes.
I knew there had to be something else. Let's see it. I'm ready for whatever it is.
什么好康的？感谢您游玩全
That's it? Oh, you've got to be kidding me. You see, Stanley? This is what happens when greedy video game developers with no respect for their fan base rush a cheap expansion to market for no reason other than to make an easy dollar. And don't get me started on the level of craftsmanship that's gone into it. In fact, I'm looking right now at the game's achievements, and it's hard to believe one of them actually says, "Test achievement, please ignore." What quality assurance department signed off on this? I'm infuriated and I'm offended, and I intend to find these people on Twitter and hold them personally accountable. It's my fault, Stanley. I built up too much anticipation around the new content, I'm afraid. It could never have lived up to such expectations. If you're still with me, why don't we just reset the game and we'll try to get back to what the Stanley Parable is really about. No frills, no gimmicks. Just you and me having a great time together like always. What do you say, friend?
直接帮我结束了啊！又重来了。哎，又不一样的地方，越来越神奇了。
Psst, Stanley, come over here. In the vent. I want to show you something.
那这里是哪里？好哦，传梦馆。
Okay, you remember how cheap and unsatisfying the new Ultra Deluxe content turned out to be? Well, it got me thinking about the past and how much better the Stanley Parable used to be. So I made something special and tucked it away here where the game's developers won't find it. Just our little secret. Take a look.
Wow. 这个教会是吗？教会，哇，变身出游戏了。
I call it the Memory Zone. It's where I've been storing all my favorite memories so I can relive the peak experiences of my life whenever I want. Experiences like the launch of the Stanley Parable on PC.
花重教， 2013。
You see, Stanley, doesn't the memory zone remind you of how wonderful Stanley Parable was before it was sullied with a cheap re-release? Remember back in October of 2013 when the game originally launched? Back then, video games had integrity. Back then, it all meant something. Oh, the waste.
视听页面，这是旧版的。回忆，勿忘史丹利的预言。史丹利的预言怎么还有实体版的？是假的啦？不可能吧？认真的吗？第一版，典藏版，观众票选奖。小金人，小金脸，8.13，原版，回忆之路，保持微笑，事已至此，随他去吧，美金。试玩版欸，哇，也太久了吧！出去走走，5年不游玩，难以达成，不可能得到成就。提名，为什么摔死了？为什么有人死在上面？年度设计、交互设计创新类。
And over here is where I keep reviews of the Stanley Parable. Like this stunning triumph of games journalism, 10 out of 10 from Destructoid.com. James Stephanie Sterling writes, and I quote, "Where so many games that aspire to be more than games end up less than any form of art, Stanley Parable strives and then succeeds to be every game ever created." Did you hear that, Stanley? Every game ever created. That's how grand and all-encompassing the original Stanley Parable was. It was literally every game ever created. It was Skyrim. It was Persona 3. It was all of them. And now, it's nothing. It's no games at all. It isn't even the Stanley Parable anymore. It's just a husk now.
成功成为了每一款游戏。
With an hour of new elevator content.
10分的游戏量10分的游戏虽非完美，但确实是你能在某一游戏类型中你能找到的典范。陈列架上的崭新必玩之作。地下室。是什么？了解你的城市。年度人物。
Here's another moving passage, this time from GameSpot.com. The Stanley Parable is both a richly stimulating commentary on the nature of choice in games and one that offers some of the most enjoyable, surprising, and rewarding choices I've ever been confronted with in a game. 9 out of 10. Don't you get it, Stanley? The game was perfect. It didn't need anything else. It didn't need new content. It just needed to be left alone, to spend the rest of time collecting dust in the hallowed hall of beloved video game memories.
啊？严肃的房间？怎么过去？ 严肃的房间。
These were simpler times, Stanley. But I wouldn't give to go back to have it all over again.
啊，开门了。
Wait, hang on. I don't recall this part of the memory zone before. What's this? What's down here?
Ah?
Oh no. Oh God, no. Stanley, it's a collection of reviews from Steam, the online video game distributor. I haven't looked at these in years. I can't even imagine what's been collecting down
玩家
here.
评测
Surely these reviews were glowing as well, weren't they?
玩家评测不推荐。
Honestly, I could not be bothered to play this game to full completion. The narrator is obnoxious and unfunny, with his humor and dialogue proving to be more irritating than entertaining. Unfunny! I'm not trying to be funny. I'm trying to make a serious work of art. I suppose I could write up a handful of gags to insert into the Stanley Parable, but the game is already such a densely layered web of profound philosophical insights that I can't even imagine where I'd have the room to stick them.
心情很差，直接翻呢。不想看玩家评测了，负评。应该还有吧？变成下雨了，诶，这是好评呢？怎么倒过来了？
Okay, let's see what this one says.
想法好是好，
While the idea for the
哪怕有
game
这
is
么多
good,
可选结局和游戏可
someone
传，
who prefers
很快
non-linear
就变得
games,
重复又
this
无聊。
preachiness gets annoying fast. Preachy? Stanley, I'm not preachy, am
唠叨
I?
的旁白，
You can tell me if I'm preachy. Honestly, you can. Oh, goodness. This is actually quite shocking for me. Well, to be honest, I had always thought of the game's dialogue as being rather terse to begin with. You can't know how much fluff I cut from the game to get it to feel as light and airy as it... Well, I always thought it did. But maybe it wasn't.
3.1小时，
Oh
推
dear.
荐。
What an awful
就
memory
刚
to
开
have
始的
to
时候会
hold
让
on
你
to.
愉悦，
These black marks
没有
are my
启发，
otherwise
也不有趣。
unimpeachable track record. I feel like a failure. Like I let these people down. Perhaps the Stanley Parable isn't quite as sterling as I always remembered.
Da 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 da。哦，一片焦土，这空间是做好玩的哦。做好玩的。
What's this one got to say? You
以为是的声音，滔滔不绝。
anything so the narrator can catch up with his long-winded explanations of what's happening. I wish there was a skip button. A skip button? Well, yes. Yes, I think we can do that. If I'm truly too preachy, then maybe letting you skip ahead for just a moment, surely it couldn't hurt. Not if it means we can strike these negative reviews from the record. Only positive reviews of the Stanley Parable. That's my motto today, and it's always been my motto. I'd do anything for the customers. Yes, a skip button we shall have. And here it is. Go ahead and give it a shot. I'll pop you forward in time so that the second my incessant droning starts to bore you, with just the push of a button, you'll have zipped right past it. It's what the players have been asking for, and I'm very proud to have delivered. No more listening to me rambling on and on and on. No. The Stanley Parable is a game for the people. And if the people want silence, then by goodness, that's what they're going to get. Well, don't sit around waiting for me to shut up. Go ahead and make me shut up. Here, we'll pretend that I've just begun an interminable monologue, and it goes something like this.
the story, and the choices, or what have you, and therefore by becoming it is, so on and so forth, until inevitably we all until the end of time, at which time everything all at once, so, now you see, blah 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 blah. We've eaten too much and it can't be just yet, no, until 245. That the logic of elimination working backwards, the deduction therefore becomes impossible to manufacture. It went on for nearly 10,000 years, until just yesterday, here and there, forward and back, and never a moment before lunchtime. It can't be. It's the only thing there is. How many billions left until so much more than forever ago? Which is why I say, the story, and the choices, or what have you, and therefore by becoming it is, so on and so forth, until inevitably we all until the end of time, at which time everything all at once, so, now you see, blah 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 blah. We've eaten too much and it can't be just yet, no, until 245. That the logic of elimination working backwards, the deduction therefore becomes impossible to manufacture. It went on for nearly 10,000 years, until just yesterday, here and there, forward and back, and never a moment before lunchtime. It can't be. It's the only thing there is. How many billions left until so much more than forever ago? Which is why I say, the story, and the choices, or what have you, and therefore by becoming it is, so on and so forth, until inevitably we all until the end of time, at which time everything all at once, so, now you see, blah 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 blah. We've eaten too much and it can't be just yet, no, until 245. That the logic of elimination working backwards, the deduction therefore becomes impossible to manufacture. It went on for nearly 10,000.
Oh, you're back, you see. You were only frozen in time for a few minutes, but it was plenty of time for me to deliver a long, rambling monologue full of unnecessary verbal flourishes and lengthy ruminations on the nature of choice in video games. Of course, I happen to believe it was perhaps one of my more profound such ruminations. Not that, of course, you need a description of it, but if I had to describe it, I'd say it was perhaps less of a rumination and more of a treatise. Or maybe a manifesto. Look, I'll outline it for you very briefly, and you can tell me what you think. Okay, so my theory is that any choice you've ever made is simply a series of choices made by the person who you are, or were, or will be at the time of having made said choice. That is to say, if by articulating a choice you've already made, you bring that choice into being, then by making no choice and saying nothing, are you not simply erecting in the sanctuary of time a monument to every person you've ever been, making every choice to which you've ever given your great gift of mortal and yet timeless thought? Or rather, do all of the choices you've ever made, in fact, make you more not this kind of person, and in fact do the very opposite? You see, it could in fact... Well there, sport. You really did catch me rambling on a bit, didn't you? But that's the power of the button. The minute I start to go off on a thoughtless display of self-absorption, it's right at your fingertips to go poof, and it's all over. Oh, I can't wait to see what Cookie9 will say about this, and whether they'll edit the rating of their Steam review, or at least change some of the wording, perhaps. To be honest, I don't even know if one can change their review in the first place. I guess I should become better educated on exactly how Steam works. Perhaps that would have been the smart thing to check on before I went about this whole exercise of making the skip button. Although I have to imagine that after seeing... Okay, welcome back, Stanley. Now, I should say that the amount of time the button has been skipping through is becoming longer and longer. That last one was, well, I want to say maybe 30, 45 minutes? It's not unendurable by any means, but it's, well, there's really only so much I can ramble on to myself about. I know, it's shocking, isn't it? But at any rate, I do suggest that we not press the button again. I think the skip button has been aptly demonstrated, and we can say goodbye to it and just... Wait, how do we get out of here? Where did the door go? Wasn't there a door that led into this room? I do feel quite certain that there was one here before. How else would we have gotten into the room in the first place? I don't think one can enter a room without a door of some sort, or a window or something like that. Do you see a window anywhere? A porthole? A sufficiently large crack in the wall? I'll take any of these. All I want is for us to move on and to please step away from the skip button, to go anywhere other than the skip button. Where did he
上岸。
go? Can you maybe just
我能
ram
穿
your way
墙，
through a wall?
我也想啊。
Is there any possibility that you could say
把我身体塞
slam
进墙
your
壁里，
body
我也
into the
想
wall
啊
until enough
我也想
damage
变
is
透
done
明
for
啊
you to be able to leave?
我也想
Please,
时间
I'll
暂
take
停
any
啊
option at all. I'm asking you to work with me here. We need a door. We need a door of some kind. I can work with any kind of door as long as it can open and lead from one room to another. I'm going to step away for just a moment, and I'm going to try to
你要
find
离
us
开
a
找
door.
门，
I don't know how exactly to remove a door
这
and
是什么？
place it in a
这是一
different
个
wall,
神
but
奇的
I
game。
will find a way, I promise. You just need to not do anything. Don't press
别
the
去
skip
按跳过
button.
按
Please,
钮。
please do not
你
press
叫我
the
在那边
skip
等，
button.
然后
Just
叫我不要按跳
wait
过，
here for me, and don't press the
他
skip
妈认
button.
真的吗？
Got it? Yes, good. I'll be right back.
你骗我啊！跳过。哎，找门，哎，真的等吗？傻子在等吧？你在那边瞎逼逼，一直捞。等一下，这个就是在跟旁白玩游戏的，跟旁白玩的游戏。看你要不要听他的。他如果再不回来，我想跳过了，受不了了哦。
Stanley, please don't push the button again. It's been 12 hours. You've just been frozen there. I don't know why the skips are getting longer, but they're really, truly getting longer. And my God, there's no way out of the room. Stanley, the door is gone. It's completely gone. I've looked at it from every angle. I've checked every one of those walls 1,000 times. And there's no door, Stanley. There's no door. There's just you and the button. And if you keep pressing it, I have no idea. Oh, Stanley, you're back. You're back. Oh, my goodness. I have someone to talk to again. Stanley, I think it's been a week. Or 2 weeks. I've been sitting here all that time, just sitting here, not a single person to speak with. And you'd think that that's just how it's always been. Me talking and you saying nothing. Don't you think that it's exactly the same way? Doesn't that feel like what we've already been doing? Me just talking? But it isn't, Stanley. It isn't the same at all. It isn't even close. Because I know you can't hear me once you push that button. That's what I'm realizing now, Stanley. I'm realizing that I needed to know that someone was listening. I needed there to be a vessel through which my words were moving. It was the vessel I needed, Stanley. Not the outcomes, not the story. None of that matters anymore. I'll give it all up. I'll give up every branching path. I'll burn my story to the ground. One single thing I need, and God, I can see now that I need it more than anything, is to know that someone else is taking it in. These words that I'm saying, I need to know you can hear me. Because maybe, Stanley, maybe, if you can hear me, then maybe it means I'm real. Maybe I'm not just a fiction. Was I scared of that all along? Perhaps. Yes. Perhaps I've been scared this whole time. If I stop speaking, I'll slip backwards into the silence and be consumed by it. I can't be taken by it, Stanley. I can't lose myself in the stretch of emptiness between you and me. When you press that button, you're still right there, but I know you're so tremendously far away. And in those moments, the emptiness folds itself outward in between the two of us, and I am suspended in its unyielding quietness. I can feel the edges of my reality curling inward and decaying. I can tell that I am becoming less and less real. Yet to speak to you now, I am alive. I am truly and completely here. I am a being. I am someone. I am something. I am being listened to. I am being recognized. Oh, hello. It's you. You're here again. Welcome. I have had time to think about you and about us and about everything we've been through. I've had so much time, I stopped keeping track after a year. Have you ever sat down in one place and not moved for one entire year? Let me describe it for you. To begin with, there is only regret. There is only the turning wheel of missed opportunities. I felt nothing at all but regret for the longest time. Days, months, I lost it all in a blur of the deepest longing to undo the past. And when that feeling had begun to subside, what took its place is what I could only describe as the collapse of every moment I have ever experienced my entire life. All of them collapsed down into a single instant. In that instant, I could see myself clearly, calmly.
好啦，没人在了，旁白消失了。一直按。啊？那什么机器啊？时钟已经倒了。
But they didn't understand the game was never meant to be funny. It was meant to have a point. It was meant to speak to the human condition. But where are the jokes? Where are the jokes? They bemoaned, they screamed, they gnashed their teeth and said, entertain us. It wasn't enough. They had to leave a pathetic little thumbs-down review and make all of their pitiful demands. But then, he's talking too much, they said. First, he didn't entertain us, now he won't shut up. It's the inconsistency, it's the lack of accountability. It's the unwillingness to examine with an uncompromising heart the words that they are speaking into the world. As though there were no consequences for a lack of cohesion in one's assessment of others. But of course, absolutely anyone can leave a review. So here's what we get. We get these demands that seek everything and are accountable to nothing. We get a world where someone will say, oh, there should be a skip button. You should be able to freeze Stanley in place while the narrator sits there forever and ever. We want all of this in the new Stanley parable. We demand it. And then, because it was said, because it was spoken, now it simply has to happen. The most immediate desires, every single thing demanded by every person at every moment in time. If someone wants it, then it's a crime not to bring it into being.
Right.
Have we been given to indulging every fleeting whim for no reason other than to do...
闭嘴！离不开哦，我要离开这鬼地方啊！让我重来也好啊。完啦！完啦！
The end is never the end, 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 is never the
哇，靠北哦，完了，越漏越多洞，要那个要淹死了，水越来越多了。我这里过太久了吧？多久啦？几十年？几百年？哦。 结果没有路啊，就只是墙，只是屋顶爆开了而已。继续，重见光明了，一路按到重见光明，好新奇的感觉哦。 我好像一个被封印了几千年的老妖怪，怎么不能出去啊？要等人来挖掘这个遗迹吗？等人类来开发？植物都长进来了，那我还出不去哦？哇哦！ 好像只能再按人了。为什么？哇！ 堆沙子流进来了，植物也死光了。核战争之类的吗？上面爆发世界大战。继续。什么东西啊？看不出来。哎，按钮倒了。终于出来了，一望无际。我的天！还能按吗？不能按了。坏掉了。沙漠旅人，看不到任何东西，完了。这一段好长哦。各位，我又回来了。这次的旅行好久，又回来这个起点了。
Someone was following Stanley. He was sure of it. If he checked over his shoulder now, he would surely catch them. It was only a matter of time.
没有啊，怎么会有人在跟踪？全新内容。
Oh, good. You notice my sign. Yes, I have something very exciting to show you.
还要再进去吗？全新内容。
You see, Stanley, I've been reflecting on the Stanley parable and about how roundly disappointing this ultra deluxe version has turned out to be. The original Stanley parable was a landmark, and any new content for it should live up to that legacy. So forget this ultra deluxe nonsense. I say we take it one step even further. Which is why I'm very proud to announce for the first time ever the Stanley Parable 2.
直接2了。结束再次永不结束。
Yes, you see, isn't this far superior to a measly re-release with a few minor additions? Think of all the new territory we'll cover with a fully fledged sequel. An entirely new experience, built from the ground up. Why, there are so many possibilities. It could go in so many different directions. This is what fans have truly been asking for.
比起在那边更新什么新的内容，直接
Calling
一个
it the
2代。
Stanley Parable 2 is just so much catchier than Ultra Deluxe, don't you think? Ultra Deluxe? What does it even mean? But the Stanley Parable 2, now that's an artistic statement right there. It's future-oriented. It screams progress and innovation and long-term franchising potential.
全新内容训。全新内容第2章潮，图表里很无聊的部分，很炫酷的红色部分。他们回来了，2扇门，2扇门，是差在哪啊？ 1代跟2代的草差一点点这样，笑死。OK。
Now, to be clear, I haven't quite nailed down what exactly the Stanley Parable 2 is going to be, but let's take a look at some of the features I've been developing for it. I figure that if I can loosely organize a handful of interesting concepts, that surely the game will sort of naturally spring up around them. It'll all work itself out. Game development is much more of a fuzzy magic than anything scientific or logical, really.
红色马克笔。 续作之什么意思啊？阿小，续作之词吗？看不太懂，太狠了吧！续作之词，这样嘴太狠了。此路通往 展会现场哦，史丹利2的预言。
Here we are. Go on, try out some of the new features.
安心与信赖铁桶。这个按钮可以说出在玩游戏的玩家的名字，哪里啊？ 在游戏里听到你的名字。
For the Stanley Parable 2, I asked myself, what do players really want? And of course, the first and most obvious answer is that they want to be individually recognized and validated as people. So with that in mind, my first addition to the game is this button which speaks the name of the person playing the game. Isn't that wonderful?
Jim.
Ah? Sorry, I should have clarified. Right now, the button only says the name Jim. But of course, in the final game, this button will say your name, whatever name that is. Here, let's have you roleplay as Jim to really simulate the full experience of this feature. Just play along. I promise you'll love it. Okay, here we go. Let's take a deep breath, clear your mind, forget whoever you are, and simply become a person named Jim. I want you to imagine yourself living as Jim, sleeping and waking as Jim, falling in love and being heartbroken as Jim, seizing all of the world's possibilities as
Jim.
Whoa, hold on. I wasn't finished setting up the backstory. If you don't properly roleplay as Jim, then you'll never understand the impact of this button. Otherwise, it's just a stupid button that says somebody else's name. Okay, we're doing it again, and this time let me finish first. Now, allow yourself to become Jim. Imagine yourself driving to work as Jim, playing frisbee on the weekends as Jim, staying up all night for a popcorn and horror movie sleepover as Jim. All right, fine, whatever. It's just a meaningless button that says Jim. Are you happy now? Get out of here. I'm done with this button. Why don't you go humiliate me in front of a different feature that I worked very hard on?
Jen， 太多垃圾话了 ，Jen。给他们开吧，去对面看看，在光人家的地方。
Maybe I'll only let people named Jim play the Stanley Parable 2. They would appreciate what I've created here.
是后台吗？我等下再来，我先对面。纪念品，好哦。我看到了新内容，还有个在哪？安心与信赖的铁桶。史丹利的寓言2，看起来这么傻啊。主角本人，问号。哎，是这里耶。办公室装饰品。
Okay, I'll be honest, I haven't yet decided on this one. I think that in the new version, the office could use a bit of decoration, like balloons. But I'm undecided on Get Well Someday and Happy 12th Birthday. Which would you go with?
总有一天会好起来的气球和堂子女12岁生日快乐。 这也差太多了吧？这个吧。
You know, sometimes when you solicit another person's opinion, it makes you realize that you knew which one you actually really wanted all along. Happy 12th birthday, step-niece, it is.
故意的吧？别人问你意见就是问问，基本上不会成为参考标准。生日快乐吗？我就知道，我觉得不是
Maybe I should have gone with No, I've made my decision. We're moving on. Come now, you've already made your choice. It's true that you chose badly, but we all have to move on from our mistakes.
阿怪晚上好啊，晚上安。没有，我跟你讲，我觉得我选右边的话，他会要选左边。我再来一次，这样，倒退路。哦，靠！我出来之后连照片都换了，过分吧？插满了那个气球，啊，没有了，根本在耍我嘛！我又出来了，这哪里啊？不是刚那里，哦，是刚那里啊。好，我们先去铁桶好了。史丹利的寓言2，安心与信赖的铁桶。铁桶。
A common complaint of the Stanley Parable was that it was confusing and paradoxical, that it engendered a chaotic sense of reckless despair in those who played it. Well, I'm happy to say that after much consideration, I've engineered a clever solution to this fundamental problem with the game. It's the Stanley Parable Reassurance Bucket. You see, Stanley, anytime you're holding the bucket, a sense of calm and ease will fill your mind and your heart. It's true. The longer you hold onto the bucket, the many disorienting contradictions of the Stanley Parable will feel perfectly normal and perhaps even comforting. You may even come to long for the gentle embrace of jarring cognitive dissonance while the bucket is in your arms. And to be honest, it's a much more convenient solution for me than actually redesigning the game to be less uncomfortable. Can you imagine what a pain in the ass that would be? Yes, the bucket is the perfect solution. Come on, give it a try.
Bucket.
Can you feel it? The glow of comfort, even in the face of crushing despair, must already be sweeping through your body. And in fact, can I say that I do believe the bucket lends you an air of charisma as well? I think that just holding it has made you the slightest bit more attractive as a person. The benefits of the bucket seem to go on, don't they? All this and more await you in the Stanley Parable 2.
啊，我就这样拿一辈子哦，笑死！
Does anyone give out awards for most enjoyable bucket in a video game? That really should be an award if it isn't already.
请不要截图。红色是新的橙色。婴儿都已长大成人，笑死！这婴儿长大成人。更新的光线追踪，全新特性，全新内容。这跳圈无底洞，跳圈。
You know what, Stanley? I actually think the jump circle was a pretty good idea. I'd like to hang on to that for the sequel.
不能跳了。免费全新加简单专属成就，在这边获得，就是这么牛！我简直不敢相信它是这么的简单。金杯走下去吗？不对啊，怪怪的吧？
Now here's something special. You remember that broken test achievement that got left in the game on accident? Well, I'm developing a technology to simply give you the achievement. Yes, you see, you'll come to this lever, and when you pull it, the achievement will be given to you. It's as simple as that.
什么恐怖的地下室？嘛，反正这些也不可能有鬼啊，所以就不恐怖了，稳稳的。 测试成就未达成，只要拉下去就得到。
Okay, perhaps I should have clarified. This is technology that will exist. Right now, the achievement is still fully broken. I'm not a wizard, Stanley, but I guarantee it will be fixed in the sequel to at last satisfy the hordes of ravenous fans all over the world who have been uproariously demanding this feature. Gamers, we hear you, and I promise it will happen.
跟我开玩笑吗？把我骗下来就跟我说假的。跟我说是坏的，不行，好烂。红色是，只有这个地下室什么都没有，骗我！说好的专属成就呢？
What else?
说好的超牛逼呢？
Haven't we seen yet?
无底洞，无底洞。 那我要摔死了。真的在参加展览呢，笑死！边缘深度无限，周围区这什么啊？无底洞还需要研究。更多洞，无穷下路，深不见底。
Stanley, here's an idea that I'm truly fond of. It's never been done before in a video game. This is, in fact, a hole that you can fall down forever. That's right. Infinite falling. You can fall until the end of time, if you like. A stunning leap forward for video games as a medium.
要我跳是不是？这好像什么水井哦，有没有女鬼之类的？ 哎呦，女鬼拉我！
You see, isn't it wonderful? One of my more ingenious concoctions, if I do say so. Now then, since you've gotten to see the infinite hole, you can press the teleport button to pop back up to the top, and we can continue onward.
确定这没有底吗？
Now, I don't mean to be a bummer, but I do recommend you use the teleport button to go back to the top. Maybe do it on the sooner rather than later spectrum of things.
越来越远嘞，确实有在变远。
Okay, Stanley. I don't know quite how to say this tactfully, but it's possible that I slightly exaggerated the infinite nature of the hole. Is it a very, very deep hole? To be certain it is. It's an extremely deep hole. I don't want anyone to say that it isn't an astonishingly deep hole. It is. Is it infinite? Well, that sort of depends on your definition of infinity. From one perspective, I'm very excited to show you even more of my ideas for the sequel.
我已经看到底部了，取消。我可不想在这交代了。刚刚从这边进来。 哎呀，不能走啊 ！OK， 好像没了。哎，他这个展览做的不错哎，哈哈。收集品，就是你能找到他们吗？集齐他们吧，好按哦。
Collectibles. Now it's a real video game. In the Stanley Parable 2, you'll run around gathering up these miniature Stanley figurines. And what's truly innovative is that there will be no reward for collecting all of them. I don't want to stifle the intrinsic joy of watching a number go up. You simply collect all of them, and then you move the hell on with your unremarkable life.
集齐了也不会有成就。要你干嘛？ 怎么往后了？怎么往前啊？哎，按成这样，看不清楚了。哦，又往前了。小金人， 这是怎样？被石化了吗？死鬼面哦！墙上这些人，好像在玩别的游戏哦。1至6， 6之1小那叫什么小人哦。
God, it really is the worst when you collect everything in a video game and then they give you a big fancy reward for it. Absolutely tragic.
花哨漂亮的大礼，真是悲哀啊！收集品也没了，安全出口，展会大厅。我刚看了，对我刚看到一间，好像走到后台去的，看一下。这个吧。
An epilogue would be fun, wouldn't it, Stanley? Yes, yes, it would go at the end of the, well, we'll figure that out later.
这是哪里啊？哦，这里有楼梯。世界级选项设置冠军。开不了。开不了，好吧，只能屈服了。你在这里 ，K， 应该都玩过了吧？只有那个世界级选项冠军，尾声这张地图跳跳，出口。哦，出口，铁桶拿不下来了。
All right, have you seen everything you wanted to? Ready to move on now?
Yeah.
So, Stanley, what do you think? Do you like all of the new features? Yes, I know it's not exactly clear yet how exactly these features will come together as one single coherent video game, but I can feel it in my soul. It's going to work. There's definitely a good game in there somewhere. Say, let's do an experiment. I'll arrange these new features together, and we'll see whether or not it coheres into a meaningful gameplay experience. Okay, are you ready? Here it is. I give you the Stanley Parable 2.
跳圈.
Well, I mean, there's potential here, right? It's sort of... Okay, never mind. Hold on, let me do a different arrangement. Okay, yes, this is much better. I feel good about this. Here we go. Version 2.
有差吗?
Who am I kidding, Stanley?
差不了多少啊?
This isn't a coherent video game at all. It's a lot of gags. And I do very much enjoy creating gags, but they don't add up to anything.
就是把东西都
I
放在一
wanted more
起.
than anything to create a sequel that would capture all the magic of the first game. I wanted fans to love it. No matter how good these gags are, they won't stand on their own. They would need the structure and the gameplay of the original. Wait, maybe that's it. I can take the original Stanley Parable and simply, well, insert a few of my new features into it. Tastefully, of course. With respect. With care for the vision and integrity of the original game. Would it possibly work? I suppose it could. But it would need a really, really tremendous title screen. A title screen that says with bold and uncompromising conviction, "This is the Stanley Parable 2. Let me see if I can whip something up. All right, perfect. Go ahead. Take a look.
啊。哈哈哈。开始。不同游戏。啊。
This is the story of a man named Stanley. Stanley worked for a company in a big building where he was employee number 427. Employee number 427's job was simple. He sat at his desk in room 427 and he pushed buttons on a keyboard. Orders came to him through a monitor on his desk, telling him what buttons to push, how long to push them, and in what order. This is what employee 427 did every day of every month of every year. And although others might have considered it soul-rending, Stanley relished every moment that the orders came in, as though he had been made exactly for this job. And Stanley was happy. And then one day, something very peculiar happened. Something that would forever change Stanley. Something he would never quite forget. He had been at his desk for nearly an hour when he realized that not one single order had arrived on the monitor for him to follow. No one had showed up to give him instructions, call a meeting.
就是这样，开头故事就是这样。前面没看到，让我们看一下。
What could it mean?
真的放气球了。
Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
12岁生日快乐，生日快乐。等一下，那是不是要稍微
No matter how hard Stanley looked, he
稍微
couldn't
瞄
find
一
a
下有没有
trace of
小
his
金人？
coworkers.
有没有他说的成就小金人？输入已接受。哦，气球。
Stanley went around touching every little thing in the office, but it didn't make a single difference.
放太多气球了吧？
Nor did it advance the story in any way. Stanley picked up the bucket.
哦，我的铁桶。饮料倒了。
Stanley clutched the bucket tightly to his chest and
真的是新的
entered
内
the
容
door
哎，
on
好
his
像。
left.
带着铁桶往右走。
This was not the correct way to the meeting room, but Stanley had felt the bucket calling to him, telling him that the employee lounge was simply the place to be. And here it was. Had the bucket turned out to be correct? Was this better than the meeting room? Yes, Stanley thought to himself. Yes, perhaps it truly was. How insightful the bucket turned out to be.
铁桶是多么的有见地啊！这个铁桶是有意识的。
No, never mind. The bucket was wrong. Stanley took the door on his left to go back to the meeting room.
No,
said the bucket.
No. Don't go to the meeting room. Go somewhere else. The cargo lift, yes. Go there.
Yeah.
Good,
said the bucket.
Now ride the lift all the way to the top. There's something up there I need you to do.
Stanley did not question why or how this bucket was speaking to him. It should have alarmed him, of course, because buckets can't talk. But Stanley chose not to think about this obvious fact. He was firmly convinced that the bucket had spoken to him, and he unthinkingly did whatever the bucket asked.
我记得这里有一个标示牌，是说铁桶不能进去什么的。
No, stop! Look there on the wall. You see, there's a sign right there. It says, "No buckets past this point." Stanley, how could you think it was okay to bring the bucket here? Unless, what if the problem is that you actually don't know what is a bucket and what isn't a bucket?
就是因为知道我拿铁桶才来这的。
I suppose that would explain a lot about your behavior up to this point. Which, if that's true, well, my goodness, I think we have to do something about it. This misunderstanding could have dire consequences on the entire rest of the game if not addressed quickly and properly. So much of the impact of the story is dependent on your understanding of what is and isn't a bucket. Please, step in here for a moment.
有新的路铁桶。 这个是铁桶吗？要辩论是吧？我手上这个到底是不是铁桶呢？
Now then, I'm going to run you through some test scenarios, and you'll tell me whether or not the thing I'm showing you is a bucket. Simple enough, right? This should tell us everything we'll ever need to know about what is or is not a bucket. Okay, let's begin.
Bucket.
Item 1. Is this a bucket?
这跟我手上的不是长得差不多吗 ？No.
Correct. It is a hologram of a bucket.
铁桶的全息图。What the fuck?
Item 2. Is this a bucket?
好像也不是呢。No.
Correct. It is a 3D printed recreation of a bucket, not an actual bucket.
Item
3. Is this a bucket?
左右还蛮像的诶，铁桶吧？应该铁桶吧
？Correct. This is a bucket.
什么啦？哎
！Item 4. Is this a bucket?
傻小。突然间来一个意料之外的问题，好啦，先回答正常一点好了。
Correct. This is a tractor and not a bucket. To be honest, I just sort of put this one in here as a gimme, but I was starting to get concerned that even this might be too much for you. Thank you for not making me look like an idiot. Okay, next one.
该不还有啊？不是一样吗
？Is this a bucket?
是。
Correct. This is a bucket.
白。他不是怎么说都，怎么选他都说对。
Is this a bucket?
怎么选他都说对。对，你说的对，是。
Trick question. Both. Gotcha.
哈？是也不是。
Item. Wait, hold on. I can't find the next one. Let me see. Should be around here somewhere.
还要找哦。哎，等一下，他还没给题目，我就可以选。他是故意的吧？
Okay, you and I both know there isn't anything here. And I don't appreciate the implication that nothing is a bucket when we both clearly know that a bucket is something, and therefore nothing could possibly be something. Unless, in your twisted mind, have you somehow convinced yourself that a bucket is nothing? Answer me straight, Stanley. Do you believe that nothing is a bucket?
物非铁桶。
You know what? I'm too confused to even sort it out. I've lost all sense of perspective. What is a bucket? What isn't a bucket? Mere moments ago I could answer these questions with confidence.
我手上的这个才是铁
Now I'm somewhat adrift.
其他都是假的。
Do any of us know what a bucket is? Am I a bucket? Stanley, I can't keep doing this. I'm losing myself, and myself was all I ever had to begin with. I'm afraid the bucket is threatening to tear our relationship apart. I can't have that. I'm sorry. But I'm going to erase all buckets from the game entirely. Okay. Here we go.
你不能这样，你不能这样。
What happened? Is everything gone? Why did everything disappear? Wait, was everything a bucket? Every single thing in the game was a bucket. Oh my God, I had no idea. How could... Except me. I'm not a bucket after all. And you, Stanley, You're still here. You're not a bucket either. Oh, this is wonderful news. We're not buckets. Yes, I actually feel much more at ease right now. It's delightful to get some clarity on that issue. But it doesn't change the fact that we haven't got a game. So, tell you what, I'll reset everything. We'll put back all of the buckets, okay?
Okay.
And we'll know that it's all a bucket. But if you run into anyone else, maybe don't mention that.
所有的东西都是
Who knows
bucket.
what that information might do to a person? All right, here we go.
除了我跟他以外都是 bucket. OK. 我们又回来这间小房间了。
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
永不结束，永不结束，永不结束。Bucket.
Stanley lifted the bucket into his arms, and a wave of comfort rushed over him.
又来喽
Stanley clutched the bucket tightly to his chest. This was not the correct way to the meeting room, but Stanley had felt the bucket calling to him, telling him that the employee lounge was simply the place to be. And here it was. Had the bucket turned out to be correct? No, never mind. The bucket was wrong. Stanley took the door on his left to go back to the meeting room.
No,
said the bucket.
Don't go to the meeting room. Go somewhere else. The cargo lift, yes.
Yeah.
Good, said the bucket.
Yeah.
Now ride the lift all the way to the top. There's something up there I need you to do.
Okay.
Stanley did not question why or how this bucket was speaking to him. It should have alarmed him, of course, because buckets can't talk. But Stanley chose not to think about this obvious fact. He was firmly convinced that the bucket had spoken to him, and he unthinkingly did whatever the bucket asked.
血桶叫不 bucket 叫铁桶叫铁桶叫
In here,
said the bucket.
Go into this dark room over here.
Stanley once again obeyed blindly.
Now pick up the phone, said the bucket. Pick up the phone, and it will take us back home, where we can go about life together.
好，听你的。
This is the sad story of a man named Stanley and his bucket. Once upon a time, I gave Stanley a bucket because I thought he was lonely and could use a friend. And then, very distressingly, he began to believe the bucket could speak to him.
Oh no! 我的朋友呢？我的 bucket 朋友呢？这是什么？ My friend. 哦，在这儿啊！是我呀，你的小铁桶，按 K 键带我陪你一起工作。没有别的选择咯。K。
The Stanley Parable Reassurance Bucket was merely meant to provide the comforting glow of companionship. It doesn't literally talk and give you orders. Whatever Stanley is hearing the bucket say to him is just in his head.
铁桶朋友的幻想。哎呀，铁桶呢？哦，你在这儿，一起回家。
Lately, I've been concerned about him. Wouldn't you be concerned as well? To see him delusional like this, obsessing over an inanimate metal object? I want to say something to him, but I don't know how I can convince him. I don't know if he'll listen to me.
爱上了铁桶，恋物癖。我看一下啊，爵士音乐。我什么看不到？我只那个美好的午后时光，跟铁桶一起回去工作。
Well, I'll try anyway. Stanley, can you hear me? Listen to me. It's just a bucket. It can't think. It can't talk. All it will ever truly do for you is effectively transfer a liquid from one location to a different location. That's it. It doesn't do anything else.
Fuck！ 别听那个人大声逼逼了，按这一键让我们回家吧。
You see, he's not listening. He's still taking orders from the bucket. You know, once upon a time it was me he took orders from, me he trusted and listened to. Now all he cares about is his awful bucket, this stupid hunk of metal.
这一坨愚蠢的金属。铁桶啊，在这儿啊！安心了，安心了。按批件对所有人熟视无睹，唯我除外。
It's sad, but I suppose he doesn't need me anymore. From now on, he's just going to cling to this bucket, this cold, empty bucket, this sort of shiny bucket.
还能钻出去吗？
Well, I'll give it this. The bucket does have a nice shine to it.
哎呀，居然，好吧，回去找 bucket。相信我是真实的，对吧，史丹利？
Yes, I suppose on closer inspection that it doesn't quite look like your average hardware store bucket. It's just a little more, what am I trying to say? Sturdier, more capable of transporting liquid. Like it would be better at moving an amount of water from one room to another.
一起看电视吧。按 C 键和我重复体验相同的一天。
Oh my God, what am I saying? Better at carrying water from room to room. It's a bucket. It's literally just a bucket. Why do I feel some need to point out the ways in which it's so much more than just a regular bucket?
哦，上来了。回家工作，回家工作，回家工作，回家工作，回家工作。
Oh no, I'm having feelings for the bucket. No, 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 no. What's going on? Why do I want to be with the bucket? Hear what the bucket has to say. Do anything it asks. What's wrong with me? I don't understand. Perhaps if I had the bucket, this would be less confusing. Yes, the bucket could tell me what to do in this troublesome situation. 铁桶会解决一切，会让你安心。铁桶就像是我的家。邪教啊！怎么连爵士之夜右边都有 bucket 啊 ？bucket 图。 Stanley, give me the bucket. Give it to me. Give me the bucket, Stanley. I need it. Give it to me now. Give it or I'll... 他要跟我抢铁桶，怎么可以这样？这是我的铁桶欸。怎么又回来了？我的铁桶呢？ 他好凶，生气。刚就是那个啊，两个人在抢一个情人啊，那个铁桶劈腿啊，铁桶脚踏两条船。安迪晚上好啊，晚上安。
All of his co-workers were
又来。
What could it mean?
那我的铁桶呢
Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
我的还就在这儿。哦，在这儿啊。
The confusion and the chaos all seemed to melt away as Stanley embraced the bucket.
感到安心。OK， 继续。
Stanley clutched the bucket tightly to his chest and entered the door.
我刚刚是正常。
This was not the correct way to the meeting room, but Stanley had felt the bucket calling to him,
如果是用同样的方法
telling him that the employee lounge was simply the place to be. And here it was. Had the bucket turned out to be correct? Was no, never mind. The bucket was wrong. Stanley took the door on his left to go back to the meeting room.
No,
said the bucket.
Don't go to the meeting room. Go somewhere else. The cargo lift. Yeah, good,
said the bucket.
Now ride the lift all the way to the top. There's something up there I need you to do.
Stanley did not question why or how this bucket was speaking to him. It should have alarmed him, of course, because buckets can't talk. But Stanley chose not to think about this obvious fact. He was firmly convinced that the bucket had spoken to him, and he unthinkingly did whatever the bucket asked.
Okay.
In here, said the bucket. Go into this dark room over here.
Stanley once again obeyed blindly.
盲目的服从，再一次。
Now pick up the phone,
said the bucket. Whoa, hold on. Why did you unplug the phone? Were you trying to resist the bucket's orders? Stanley, I was joking. Obviously, the bucket isn't talking to you and telling you to do things. Buckets can't talk. It was a joke. Don't you get the joke? It's funny, Stanley. A talking bucket.
Oh.
Can't you see? Oh, goodness. I must have really bungled up the delivery if you actually took me seriously. Where did I mess up the joke? Should I have paused for longer or spoken quicker? Comedic timing is so difficult. I wish I were better at it. But there isn't exactly an instructional video on comedy that one can watch to fully... Oh, wait, yes, there is. It's sitting right here. Let's take a look.
What is comedic timing? What is comedic timing? How does it work? How long should it last? How can it be used to effectively silence your political enemies? And more importantly, can it be taught in its entirety within 90 seconds? Thankfully, the answer to all of these questions is yes. Let's dive deeper.
Yeah.
If you've ever told a joke or made someone laugh, in all likelihood, you did it while standing 50 to 80 centimeters from them in a room of no more than 76 degrees Fahrenheit with one of your arms raised straight upward at a 15-degree angle from your body. These are the optimal conditions for good comedic timing. To begin the joke, start by stating and spelling your name. Next, provide a brief synopsis of the joke, including the specific times at which the recipient of the joke will laugh, and then spell out your name a second time. With these steps complete, it's time to begin the humor. Speak the entire joke in no more than 18 seconds and no less than 13 and a half, pausing only for bathroom breaks when necessary. When the joke has concluded, it is customary to inform your listener that the joke is over by declaring in your loudest possible voice, "I'm Dunny with the funny." Let's practice screaming, "I'm Dunny with the funny" now.
傻小啦！再告诉对方说我讲完笑话了。
This saying is a perfect example of expectations management, which is the cornerstone of good comedy.
让对方笑。
Finally, it's time to hand out surveys. Collecting hard data from your audience on how rapt they were throughout the joke is the only way to grow or learn as a comedian. An effective survey should be no less than 10 pages long and should include the same question reprinted several times, just to ensure the survey taker is actually paying attention and not simply filling in answers at random. And that's all there is. With these strategies at your disposal, you'll have audiences doubled over in laughter and even tripled over in laughter in no time at all. Just remember to let them stop laughing at some point, you gut-busting little scamp. After all, we're each of us needed on the front lines of the war to fight the 12-legged invader who threatened our very existence, and to very likely die in a hailstorm of bullets and mandibles. All of us must be prepared to give our lives to this noble cause, just as our children must do after us, and their children after them. Godspeed, and may Earth reign supreme.
Huh?
Hey, goodness, this video is a little outdated, isn't it? Well, no matter. I think the fundamentals of proper comedic timing are still as relevant today as they were back then. So with that in mind, I believe the only way forward is for us to return to the 2 doors and walk through all of this again, so I can try telling my story with more appropriate comedic delivery. Come along, let's head back.
Okay.
I can feel it. This time, I'm really going to nail the delivery. You'll be in stitches. A talking bucket, you'll say? How ridiculous. How absurd. What a hilarious concept. The king of comedy. That's what you'll call me. Thank goodness we had the instructional video. Otherwise, who knows where we'd be right now. Well, I wouldn't be the king of comedy, that's for sure.
The bucket spoke to Stanley.
The bucket spoke.
The bucket spoke.
Oh, I'll figure it out on the fly. No need to overthink things.
啊？回去爹。
Here we go. You ready? When Stanley and the bucket came to a set of 2 open doors, they entered the door on the left.
好，左边的门。
No. You were supposed to go through the door on the right, leading back to the phone. Did you not even look at the instructional video? I think this is all covered very clearly. There's no way I can make the comedic timing work now. It's done. The joke is completely done and over. It's all your fault, Stanley. I'm going to be ridiculed in the community of other joke writers. I'm going to be shamed at every one of our meetings from now on. All because you couldn't watch a simple video and take a hint. Are you proud of yourself for bringing me down, Stanley? Are you proud? Here we go. You ready? When Stanley and the bucket came to a set of 2 open doors, they entered the door on the left.
好狠哦 What the fuck?
What? We're back at the phone already? No. What's going on? There were supposed to be several rooms leading up to this. There was supposed to be a build-up to this point, a dramatic display of remarkable comedic wit which culminates in this scene with the phone. But now the timing's completely off. The joke will never land, not the way it was meant to. And it's all my fault. I must have forgotten that the phone room comes immediately after the 2 doors room. What an egregious mistake. I've made a fool of myself. I don't deserve the title of King of Comedy. I'm nothing. I'm not even the lowliest joke-telling whelp. I think I need to go back and rewatch that instructional video again. Yes, surely that will help me improve my...
被玩弄欸。
Stanley, you love the bucket so much it's like you... it's as though all of your other most prized possessions pale in comparison. Yes. Well, let me try that again, Stanley. I heard that you are pale with shame over how unabashedly in love with a bucket you are. No? Still not? Is it the delivery? Pale with shame. Pale with shame? Pale... What's another word to describe a bucket? Stanley, this bucket is so metal, I think I saw it playing guitar. No.
Stan.
No. We're getting away from making fun of Stanley's obsession with the bucket, which was the whole point of this. I'm no good at these jokes. I need more instructional videos. That's exactly what it is. That's what will make me the king of comedy again. More instructional videos. Let's see.
现在得去左边，得去左边。哎，不对啊！哎，我怎么筒子在这边？
Warmth spread through Stanley's arms. With the bucket in his arms again, he was home. Stanley clutched the bucket tightly to his chest and entered the door on his left. Still no one was here. Stanley needed the bucket's warmth and comfort now more than ever. Perhaps his boss's office was where he'd find answers.
毫不期待升职的心态。那是什么奴隶？
Oh, Stanley, can you feel it? The broom closet. It wants the bucket. You can feel that, can't you? The aura of jealousy? It's as clear as day. This broom closet believes it deserves the bucket. I can really feel it now. It's a bucket. It belongs in a broom closet. That's what the broom closet is trying to say here. It's supposed to go with the other cleaning supplies. Good for you, Stanley. Don't give in. don't
不要
hand
交出
over
铁
the
桶。
bucket. I know how hard it must be, given the pressure that the broom closet is putting on your shoulders right now, but you have to be strong. This is your bucket. This is your companion and lifelong friend. You can't hand it over. Oh no. We're getting into name-calling now, it seems. Is this how low the broom closet has sunk that it has to resort to this stream of petty insults simply in order to get you to hand over the bucket? Stanley, I never liked this broom closet for a variety of reasons, but even this is worse than I had imagined. And wait, now the broom closet has the gall to imply that you and the bucket are not truly deep and lasting friends? That your relationship is purely superficial and convenient? That your life is so banal and meaningless that you'd feel the same sort of kinship towards any inanimate object which happened to lay in your path in an even partially enticing manner? Well, I never. Go on, Stanley. Lay into it. Really tell the broom closet off for its demeaning comments. Expand on the wide variety of experiences you and the bucket have shared together. Go through each of them point by point. Share your journal entries detailing the rich emotional landscape of your feelings for the bucket as they have changed and evolved over the years. Let him have it. Okay, I've got you something which I think will help settle this debate once and for all. Here we go. There. Now it's settled. No more debate, no more discussion. Take a hike, broom closet, with all your meandering philosophical diatribes about the nature of cleaning supplies and their relationship to broom closets in the natural order of things. All right, I've got a second sticker back here, and I'm going to slap it on as well because I think it's appropriate. You see? I feel that it works because the sticker is also a bucket.
装饰.
That way, if you're ever unsure whether the thing you're holding is a bucket or not, you can look down at this sticker and say to yourself, ah, it's a bucket.
It's a bucket.
There really is a wide variety of applications for this sticker.
It's a bucket.
You know what? I could take the name-calling and the dismissal of your kinship with the bucket, but now the broom closet is just giving us the silent treatment. And to be honest, I'm sick of the pettiness on display. You can stay here all you like, but I've had it with this impetulant room of cleaning supplies. Easily the most childish such room I've ever been in. I'll see you outside, and we can get on with the story about you and your bucket.
玩铁桶的故事。就这样。我走。贴纸都贴上了，那我
Coming
走
to a
吧。
staircase, Stanley and the bucket walked upstairs to the boss's office.
早中晚，什么东西？早中晚好，恰钱恰饱。哦。
You found one of them. One of the miniature Stanley figurines. Remember, no reward for collecting all of these, only the intrinsic pleasure of a job well done. You can't buy that sort of happiness, Stanley. God knows I've tried. So, I implore you to savor each and every moment you come across one of these beautiful figurines.
Okay. 又来了。
Stepping into his manager's office, Stanley was once again stunned to discover not an indication of any human life. Crushed by... But Stanley guessed the correct code by sheer luck. Was it that the bucket knew all along? Was the bucket guiding him? Yes, this is certainly the most logical explanation.
铁桶跟我说的啦。哦。
Another miniature Stanley figurine. This, you know, there really must be a snappier name for these things. What about mini stands? Stanley figs. What about Stanlerines? Yes, I think I like that. Another Stanley under your belt.
Stanley.
The elevator raced downward, plummeting towards an unknown fate. It would be all Stanley could do to keep himself together, if not for the bucket. Soothing him, comforting him, reassuring that in this darkest moment of uncertainty, he would be all right. The bucket is here for you, Stanley. Everything will be fine. Stanley and the bucket walked straight ahead through the large door that read, Mind Control Facility. The lights rose on an enormous room packed with television screens. What horrible secret did this place hold? Stanley and the bucket both wondered to themselves.
监视
The monitors jumped to life, and Stanley nearly dropped the bucket in shock. Everyone in the office was being videotaped, monitored like guinea pigs. The bucket had never seen anything like this, and it very nearly burst into tears as Stanley cradled it gently, reassuring it that everything would be fine.
不是应该要铁桶来安慰我吗？怎么是我在安慰铁桶啊？
Was the bucket under the mind control facility's influence as well? Had the bucket been told to do things it didn't wish to do? What kinds of things does a bucket want to do or not want to do in the first place? These questions raced furiously in Stanley's feeble mind. No! He screamed into the bucket. He couldn't accept it. His own life in someone else's control?
No.
Never! He squeezed the bucket tighter. His one friend in the entire world. At this point, he could trust no one except for the bucket. But here was the proof. The heart of the operation. Controls labeled with emotions, happy or sad or content. Walking, eating, working, all of it monitored and commanded from this very place. And as the cold reality of his past began to sink in, Stanley decided that this machinery would never again exert its terrible power over another human life. Stanley and the bucket waited in blackness. Was it over? Yes, they had done it. Stanley and the bucket had defeated their greatest and darkest enemy, freed themselves from the tyrannical grip of the evil mind control machine. Freedom was now mere moments away. Excitedly, the two of them began to discuss the kind of life they wanted to live once they stepped through this massive door. The bucket wanted to learn to roller skate. Stanley wanted to sneeze in every country on Earth. Both of them wanted to begin watching a movie, any movie, but then stop it halfway through and begin watching it in reverse from the end. True, it was a simple life they envisioned, but it was one they'd lived together, with one another to lean on, to trust, to support. What? Wait. What was happening? Why had the door stopped? Was Stanley and the bucket not about to be freed? An unbearable silence filled the room, lingering in uncertainty, until finally the truth hit Stanley square in the face. This building did not want the bucket to leave. Even the facility itself recognized the incredible calming presence of the bucket, needed the soothing warmth of the bucket. Go to any lengths not to part with the bucket. No. Stanley can't leave this place. Not while he has such a precious bucket in his arms. Not while this building has anything to say about it. Stanley realized he would never again leave this very room. But at least he has the bucket. To be trapped eternally in darkness isn't really so bad, Stanley thought to himself. As long as I have my bucket with me, right? I'll be okay, won't I? Stanley gulped. Very soon now, he was about to find out. Even now, Stanley's office was a distant memory. What did it look like? There was a computer, perhaps, and a painting. Was it a painting or a photo? He could no longer recall. No matter how hard Stanley looked, he couldn't find a trace of his co-workers. At first, Stanley assumed he'd broken the map, until he heard this narration and realized it was part of the game's design all along. He then praised the game for its insightful and witty commentary into the nature of video game structure and its examination of structural narrative tropes. So, now that you're here, what do you think? Isn't this a fun and unique place to be? Why don't we take a minute just to drink it all in? Okay, I'm over it now. What do you think? Are you sick of this gag yet?
Yeah.
Well, I don't know how to say this politely, but you could literally just hit escape and restart the game any old time you want, like right now. You could have done it just then. Now would also be an appropriate time to quit. Any of these points and so many, many more, all of them are appropriate. I'm enjoying what seems to be an internal conflict going on where you are literally unable to act on your own desires to restart the game. So, just to push the envelope, I'm going to try and make this as miserable as possible and see how long you can maintain. There once was a man named Stanley, who people considered so manly. But the truth must be told, he was not very old and was quite particularly gangly. What Stanley liked most was buttons. He pushed them like some kind of glutton. He did it all day in a meaningful way, but his brain had long ceased to function. Which is why he is in this parable and lives an existence quite terrible. And if you are not strong and keep playing along, you too will become quite unbearable. Yes. You too will become quite unbearable.
好了，续作已暂停。
All of his co-workers were... Wait, no. This isn't the right office, is it? Is this Stanley's office?
Yeah.
Stanley picked up the bucket and smiled. He'd never be alone again, not truly alone, not with the bucket around. Stanley clutched the bucket tightly to his chest and entered the door on his left.
然后往后我们如何才能找到他？办公室周遭出现。往下走。
Coming to a staircase, Stanley and the bucket walked upstairs to the boss's office. Okay, I'm going back to the name of these little Stanley figurines. And now I'm torn between Stanlerines and Figlies. What do you think, Stanley? What name better encapsulates the intrinsic sense of happiness that you get from seeing a small number in the corner of your screen go up by 1? Let me sit on it. I'm sure it will come to me.
Wait. 上一次好像没有来这欸。
But Stanley just couldn't do it. He considered the possibility of facing his boss, admitting he had left his post during work hours. He might be fired for that. And in such a competitive economy, why had he taken that risk? All because he believed everyone had vanished? His boss would think he was crazy. And then something occurred to Stanley. Maybe, he thought to himself, maybe I am crazy. He looked down at the bucket in his arms. Am I crazy? He asked the bucket. The bucket returned his gaze, but said nothing at all. That's strange, Stanley thought. Usually the bucket is a source of guidance and wisdom for me in difficult times such as these. He held the bucket close, yet felt none of its familiar reassurance and comfort. And that's when Stanley realized This isn't my bucket. It's just a normal, everyday bucket. Someone else's bucket, perhaps. How did I end up with someone else's bucket? This is all terribly wrong. Surely no good would come from this. Who knows what sorts of bizarre hallucinations Stanley might experience without the psychologically grounding presence of his bucket. And indeed, now he noticed that the rooms were repeating, which was, of course, very odd. And now he felt himself floating off the ground. Oh, gracious, he exclaimed. Without my bucket, I've gone truly mad. Where is it? I must find it. Far off in the distance now, he heard it, calling to him.
Stanley! Stanley, it's me, the bucket.
Could it truly be? He rushed forward from room to room, passing by one bucket after the next. None of them were his. None of them were his special bucket.
Come to me, Stanley. Find me.
He had to find the bucket. He had to return to his old friend. It was the only way to truly restore his sanity. And then suddenly, he froze dead in his tracks. He knew where the voice of the bucket had been coming from. The real bucket was inside of him all along. It was incredibly painful. Stanley doubled over in agony and blacked out.
Oh.
This is the story of a woman named Mariella.
Mariella
woke up on a day like any other. She arose, got dressed, picked up her bucket of comfort and security, and walked to her place of work. But on this particular day, her walk was interrupted by the body of a man who had stumbled through town, talking and screaming to himself, and then collapsed dead on the sidewalk. Right away, she knew what the problem was. This man had no bucket. Of course, he'd gone mad, ranting and raving about a narrator describing all of his actions and how everything is predetermined and free will is an illusion and it's all just a video game. It could all have been prevented if only he'd taken his bucket with him. Perhaps he didn't even realize he'd forgotten his bucket at home in the first place. How cruel the world can be, Mariella thought, and she hugged her own bucket even tighter. But of course, she had no time for this. There were a myriad of confusing problems she would soon have to confront at work, for which her bucket would provide absolute guidance and total clarity. Heck yes, she thought to herself. My life kicks ass. And she backflipped all the way to work.
又回来了，好了，累了，剩下的我不知道还有没有什么隐藏要素，还特殊结局什么的，可能要找攻略了，会比较好一点。到时候，如果真的有这种特殊的东西，再来补完。好玩到后面其实。 如果要去思考他的对话的话，还蛮伤神的，已经在晃神了，已经不知道他讲什么了。铁桶阵，关门。
But Stanley simply couldn't handle the pressure. What if he had to make a decision? What if a crucial outcome fell under his responsibility? He had never been trained for that. No.
好了，那就看到这边了。这个我知道，这个好像是
The thing to do now, Stanley
在自己的房间自闭的结束的结局，很烂。
Nothing will break me. In here I can be happy forever. I will be happy. Stanley waited. Hours passed.
好啦，关啦。
Had years gone by? He no longer had the ability to tell. But the one thing he knew for sure, beyond any doubt, was that if he waited long enough, the answers would come. Eventually, someday, they would arrive. Soon, very soon now, this will end. He will be spoken to. He will be told what to do. Now it's just a little bit closer.